The chief correspondent for Fox News just let Pete Hegseth have it. Despite the Republicans damn near demanding that we drop this whole Signalgate thing, it looks like the backlash has just started. Jennifer Griffin hit Pete Hegseth with a blistering left hook as she called him out on Twitter. I'll show you guys that post, but I wanted to start with a segment that actually aired on Fox that completely goes against the mainstream conservative narrative that this whole thing is no big deal and we should all just move on. Here's Jennifer Griffin on Fox.
Pounding Houthi targets in Yemen, despite all of this signal scandal. At the heart of the administration's defense, what constitutes war plans and classified information, as you saw some of the back and forth on Capitol Hill. Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin takes a look tonight from the Pentagon.
It's by the awesome grace of God that we are not mourning dead pilots right now.
More fallout from the national security text chain set up on Signal to discuss details of future operations to target the Houthis in Yemen. Defense Secretary Hegseth, who was visiting troops in Hawaii, spoke before departing for Guam.
Nobody's texting war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
The texts were sent by the Defense Secretary 2 hours before the airstrikes began. At 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time, Hegseth posted, "Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch." Then he went on to outline the operation's future timeline. 12:15 Eastern, F-18s launch, first strike package. 14:15, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. 15:36, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched. Congressman Krishnamurti quoted from the DoD manual on classified information.
Information shall be classified if its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause describable damage to national security. This includes military plans, weapon systems, or operations.
That's also an accurate quote.
What was shared in the Signal group chat goes beyond war plans because they included the timing of the operations. The Republican head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Roger Wicker, has called for an investigation and further hearings. Quote, "The information as published recently appears to me to be of such a sensitive nature that, based on my knowledge, I would have wanted it classified." Brett?
Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with the Republican head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Roger Wicker, who says that this information should have been classified. That all sounds logical to me. In fact, this whole segment by Jennifer Griffin sounds logical to me, which is a problem for them because it sounds very different from the other segments that they've been airing over on Fash News. Here's a quick compilation of all of the coping and seething that's been happening over on that dung pile.
It's not a big story. If this was an Al Jazeera reporter, they accidentally put on the group text, yeah, but it's Jeffrey Goldberg, who's a real scumbag. Hours ago, Democrats thought they had the scandal of the year, and now it's over. Officials leak to reporters all the time. This time they accidentally leaked to a reporter. It was a mistake. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
You know, I was thinking about this. I've been in Washington a long time. This is all a sad repeat of what Republicans have been dealing with since around 1987. Yeah, I worked in the Reagan administration in 1987. From the Bork hearings to Iran-Contra to the Russian collusion to the myriad anti-Trump hoaxes, Charlottesville, January 6th. It's one long slash and burn campaign. Democrats didn't really care about any of the underlying issues involving any of those stories. They cared about gaining a political advantage.
No, I think we care about the underlying issues. The Trump administration is incompetent, corrupt, and otherwise odious in a myriad of ways. And unfortunately for Jesse Waters, this story isn't going anywhere. Not only did Pete Hegseth admit to a war crime by confirming that they blew up the apartment building of a Houthis girlfriend, but also our military guys don't exactly like it when you text out war plans, especially to journalists. And that's not really a story you can just turn people away from. Just ask Jennifer Griffin, who took to Twitter after her wallop of a segment and said this: "There is debate about whether the operational details Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared in the Signal group chat were classified or not. So I surveyed a range of current and former U.S. defense officials who agreed war plans is not the right term, but what was shared may have been far more sensitive, given the operational details and timestamps ahead of the operation, which could have placed U.S. military pilots in harm's way." What Hegseth shared 2 hours ahead of the strikes were time-sensitive attack orders or operational plans, with actual timing of the strikes and mention of F-18s, MQ-9 Reapers, and Tomahawks. This information is typically sent through classified channels to the commanders in the field as secret, no-foreign messages. In other words, the information is classified and should not be shared through insecure channels. Attack orders or attack sequence puts the joint force directly and immediately at risk, according to former senior defense official number 1. Quote, it allows the enemy to move the target and increase lethal actions against U.S. forces, end quote. This kind of real-time operational information is more sensitive than war plans, which makes this lapse more egregious. According to 2 former senior U.S. defense officials, quote, this information was clearly classified, according to former senior defense official number 1. The defense secretary can retroactively declassify information after the fact, but the fact that this was shared in real time before the strike took place makes it unlikely to have been declassified when it was being shared and seen by the journalist for The Atlantic, who was inadvertently included in the signal chat. According to a second former U.S. defense official, when Hegseth says he didn't release war plans, that is pure semantics. These were attack plans. If you are revealing who is going to be attacked, Houthis, the name of the text chain, it still gives the enemy warning. When you release the time of the attack, all of that is always classified. I truly don't think that the Trump administration understands the kind of deep water that they're in. This isn't just a little whoopsie, it's a whole set of massive issues that were revealed by this incident. The fact that Signal is being used to talk about this sensitive information, the fact that the messages were set to delete, the fact that a journalist, but it could have been anybody, was accidentally added to the group chat, the fact that the specifics were then sent in that group chat, and the fact that they're admitting to targeting a civilian building in a country that we're not at war with, which according to the Geneva Convention is a war crime. I know that we've gotten real lax over the last 3 or 4 administrations on what constitutes a war crime, but I do think it's worth pointing out that 13 people died, all because one missile guy was visiting his girlfriend. Does that sound like fighting for freedom to you? But of course, egregious acts of violence are no longer enough to shake the American conscience. But what is enough is accidentally revealing the plan to commit that violence to a journalist. Accountability is coming for these people, whether they like it or not, as Mr. Crow pointed out during the Senate hearing.
It is outrageous and it is a leadership failure, and that's why Secretary Hegseth, who undoubtedly transmitted classified, sensitive operational information via this chain, must resign immediately. There can be no fixes, there can be no corrections until there is accountability, and I'm calling on the administration to move forward with accountability.
If even Jennifer Griffin, the chief correspondent on Fox News, is pointing out how egregious of an error this is, I get the feeling that the story isn't going away anytime soon. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American, and I'll catch you next time.